everyone, Gaijin here. This right here is a game exchange first. Jonas Kirliff has graciously given me the opportunity to do a cultural analysis for Gears for Breakfast's up-and-coming 3D platforming collect-a-thon game, A Hat in Time. And let me tell you guys, this game is a freaking godsend. It calls back to the glory days of adventure platforming of Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie, and heck, it has Grant freaking Kirkhope doing a few music pieces for it. But it goes even beyond that. After I played around a bit with an alpha build of the game, I was really taken back by its design, music, and above all else, mood. And as completely balls-to-the-wall awesome as that is, let me place that aside for just a moment and look at what really inspired this game culturally. And believe me, even though I was only able to play 2 levels, there's quite a bit here. The first level, Down with the Mafia, seems pretty simple on the surface, but it holds a ton of references and inspirations. For those of you unfamiliar, this seaside town has been overrun by the Mafia cooks, who seem to be Italian with Russian accents. Weird, I know, but let's dissect this. This particular level was heavily influenced by the Greek town of Santorini. Now, for those of you who don't know, 3,600 years ago, Santorini was the center of one of the biggest volcanic eruptions in the history of the world, known as the Minoan eruption. The volcanic explosivity index of this bad boy ranged around 6 or 7 on the VEI scale. When compared to Mount St. Helens, this is nearly 100 times more of the amount of the hot stuff that erupted on Santorini. This can explain how the level changes from being a seaside paradise to a sweltering volcanic nightmare. Something else worth noting comes from the architecture of this level too. While the level's buildings may have several shades and colors compared to Santorini's near mono-white colored buildings, the way the buildings slope downhill in-game are very similar to the real-life counterpart. Something I also find interesting comes from the level design of the island's center, having a large erupting body of water. Now this is just speculation, but I wonder if this design matches the design of the Santorini Islands on a micro scale. Who knows if it's true, but I think it's pretty cool. As far as the Mafia cooks goes, I think their general design comes from a few different stereotypes of Mafia culture. Now there does exist the low-profile Philadelphia Greek mob, but these guys look like they came right out of The Godfather with their mustaches. Again though, they have Russian accents, and there's a pretty decent-sized Russian Mafia. So if anything, I think these guys are a sort of Mafia hybrid. Nothing crazy, but you can see the various inspirations here. The other level that I got to play was the Subcon Forest, and if you thought Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess was creepy, that was nothing. Heck, this level even uses some aspects of those games. Everyone in this forest has a mask to hide their faces due to something that they've done in their past lives, and I think that's a possible nod to Majora's Mask. Anyway, this place is just completely unsettling. The whole time I played it, I felt like I was in a world developed by Miyazaki if he had a bad acid trip. And who knows, maybe there was some inspiration pulled from his creations. If you walk past the path, you'll find a group of fire spirits who pray to a god who do nothing but strike them down. Yet they remain content. Perhaps this is a message about blindly following a particular practice that causes obvious problems. I know that's not really specific, but I think it's an interesting sociological message. There's also the Moonjumper and the Snatcher. The Snatcher is a dark shadow spirit who delights in stealing people's things from the shadows, including your precious hourglasses. While the Moonjumper is a malevolent puppeteer, pulling the strings and controlling the spirits of the Subcon Forest from the moon. From what I can tell and what I know from the developers, Moonjumper is basically a negative take on the folklore myth of the rabbit on the moon, who instead of helping many people, depending on its cultural interpretations, harm the people, or spirits in this case, of Subcon by controlling them, and trying to get out of his position on the moon. One such folklore tale comes from Mesoamerica. Now, first and foremost, I hope you can forgive me for butchering these names, but here it goes. Long story short, there were 2 gods, Texas-Tecatl and Nanahuti. Nanahuti was a poor god who sacrificed himself to be the next son because he knew that he could be spared. Texas-Tecatl, however, hesitated several times before finally sacrificing himself to become the second son alongside Nanahuti. For his cowardice, he was hit with a rabbit, and no, I'm not making that up, and he was doomed to never shine as bright as Nanahuti, who became revered and honored. While not having a direct connection to Moonjumper, I can kind of see how this might have been an influence. Moonjumper dresses very well, as if he was rich, and his evil acts may reflect what Texas-Tecatl might have become if his disappointment, anger, and vengeance took him over. Again, it may not be a direct link, but it sure could be. As for the Snatcher, I don't know guys, this one's really tough. I know that's not what you want to hear, but the concept of shadow people exists in so many cultures and so many time periods, it's really hard to nail this one down. For example, the Yoruba people in Nigeria believe that a person has at least 3 spiritual beings, one of which, the Ojiji, is a shadow that follows its owner and waits for their return in the afterlife when they die. In Roman mythology, ghosts were usually black and looked like a living shadow instead of the sort of white or translucent image that we have in the West. The souls of the underworld or afterlife were called umbrae, meaning shadows in Latin. So after you died, you basically became a shadow person. Even in the West, current day, we have people who claim sightings of shadow people. And even in this day and age, we have people trying to figure out just what they are. Some people think they're demons, some think they're spirits, some think they're time travelers, some think they're astral or extra-dimensional beings. There are so many interpretations, it's kinda hard to hammer down what this nature really is. While I really wish I had more I could say about this really awesome game, sadly I do not. After all, this was only 2 levels in an alpha build. But that doesn't discourage me because I only got a small taste of what this game has to offer, and I cannot wait to see more. You can still support this game by helping it get greenlit, as well as making sure you check the game out for yourself when it releases. Anyway, gang, until next time, this is Gaijin Goomba signing out. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you're interested in other videos I do, such as commentaries, real-life stuff, and even a brand new show that I'm working on, give me a click right here and check out my channel. If your brain is still begging for more overanalyzation, be sure to check out my buddies Matt, Pat, and Ronnie with their shows Game Theory and Digressing and Side Questing to learn more about your favorite games than you could ever imagine. And if you really like our stuff, be sure to subscribe. Your constant support is what keeps these shows going. So give those channels a sub. We always have new stuff for you to check out. This episode of Game Exchange was brought to you by Arcadia Retro Arcade in Fayetteville, Arkansas. From retro cabinets of the arcade glory days to the retro consoles that brought us the classics, Arcadia is your Northwest Arkansas fix for old school gaming.